It's a Thursday. It's fine. August 1st, first day of August. It is.
Can you believe another month is just like.
Have you ever seen that compilation of all of the newscasters saying, "Can you believe it's already May?" when it's like May?
No,
1st?
but probably found
it's really funny.
Either one or both of us in the mix. Yeah.
Apparently, everybody when the calendar flips to May, everyone's like, "Can you already believe it's May already?"
It's gonna be May.
Damn it! I don't have the drop anymore.
You need to get.
Dang it! Anyway, this is episode 121. Chuck Minkatinik, Matt Roy, alongside for the next 30 minutes or so. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Got a lot going on. We're going to talk some Olympics today. Simone Biles is going to be competing here in the next couple of seconds, I believe. I think she's taking her 4th rotation. I will try not to play any spoilers here for people who haven't seen it and are going to watch it tonight in primetime on News 4. Katie Ledecky goes crazy again in the 1,500 meters. She's one of one. We'll talk about her a little bit. We got Cowboys training camp, some updates from there. We finally heard from Trayvon Diggs after his injury last year. It's been 10 months since we've seen him on a football field. So just happy to have him back. And then if you didn't know, football is back today, kind of.
Yes, it's back.
The Hall of Fame game is tonight in Canton. It's going to be Texans versus Bears. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I know a lot of preseason doesn't get too much hype, but a couple of interesting things that I'm itching to see tonight. So first off, though, trivia question today is which NFL receiver holds the record for most touchdowns in a season and most touchdowns in his rookie season? Holds the record for most receiving touchdowns ever in a rookie season, and that same person holds the record for most touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in a season. So that's the trivia question. Get your answers in. Chuck, you can go ahead and think about that for a little while. Don't think too hard.
Gotta be between. Oh man, I shouldn't say this because I'll probably be wrong.
Well,
I got 2 people in mind. We'll see if
2 people in mind. All right, see,
in the ballpark.
It's good to get it down to 2 because that makes it a little easier. Let's talk about Team USA in the Olympics first. So not Team USA basketball, even though they're studly as well. Just about an hour ago, the medal count so far, 6 golds, 13 silvers, 12 bronze, 31. Team USA winning right now over France. They have 27. Every year, we don't really talk about the Olympics every year. We don't talk about the Olympic sports every year. Simone Biles, the Katie Ledeckys, the other 500 athletes that the US has. I think that's the best part of the Olympics. It's like everyone trains for 4 years to do something that you don't see every day. And then you have someone who, like Simone Biles, who is the greatest of all time in her sport, come out and just utterly dominate and remind everyone like, oh, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I'm still here.
Yes. Oh, if you're looking for a response, man, I echo 100%. I mean, it's super fascinating to see somebody like Simone Biles and then just year after year after year after year. And then, to get the reappreciation, I think, is fascinating to see too. And how much, just over time, somebody could assert herself or himself in such a way that you could do this and know that there's a whole world gunning for you every 4 years or in the world championships, in that cycle. And yet here she is every single year doing this. It's just utterly mind-boggling to think that you could have somebody as dominant as her or Katie Ledecky you mentioned too.
I think it's just interesting too because the novelty of it. We get football every year, and so when we see somebody break the receiving record or the yardage record or whatever they do, that's something. But we see it every year. For the Olympics, like, I don't pay attention to gymnastics every year when they have the world championships or anything like that. I pay attention to it in the Olympics. Probably like 90% of the world does. So when you see them and you almost rediscover the greatness every 4 years, I think it says something about how good they are to be able to do it, 1, every 4 years, but 2, like almost shocking everyone again.
Yes. And I think just on a fan's perspective level, right? It's easy to sit there and watch something like, how in the world can somebody that's 4 or 5 feet tall,
4'8",
okay, jump 12 feet in the air, spin a ridiculous amount of times, how do you traverse that universe
Mhm.
and get back on your feet and do so in a balanced way the preponderance of the time? It's I mean, you could talk about, greatest athletes doing whatever. I mean, the skill level to me is utterly not fathomable.
Yeah,
If I know I'm not making any sense because I'm still trying to, like, how do you describe what you're watching?
I
You
can't.
can't even see it with your naked eye. How, like if somebody said, okay, what did she just do right there? Well, now somebody's had to process all of that stuff, come up with a plan. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And then each movement means something to the end game. And again, it's like trying to predict what is, what the seams in a baseball are going to be doing at, 100 miles an hour.
I just love watching the greatest in their sports, the greatest in their chosen discipline coming out and being the greatest. Simone is
Yeah.
unquestionably the most accomplished gymnast of all time. She is the oldest Olympian gymnast to participate since the 1950s. She's only 27 years old. It's a young woman's game. The fact that she's still doing what she's doing at her age is amazing. And if this is possibly the last time we see her in the Olympics, all I can say is just hats off to her. I mean, thank you so much for even giving us a glimpse of your gift. So
Yes. Amen. Well said.
Same with Katie Ledecky. I mean, Katie Ledecky is the GOAT of the 1500 meter. She is the GOAT of one of the most accomplished women in women's swimming, or in swimming in general. She is the Michael Phelps of women in swimming. She's just amazing. She's unconscionable. She finished the 1500 meter yesterday a full lap ahead of the rest of the competition. Like, it's just amazing. I just saw a video in the other room of her doing a lap in the pool with a glass of chocolate milk on the back of her head, and she didn't spill the milk. Like, who does these things? Olympians.
Right.
Olympians never cease to amaze you.
Especially these two, right? Again, the chance to appreciate their greatness again. Pretty fascinating stuff.
It's just fun. What's your favorite Olympic event to watch?
I like track and field. So to this point, I really haven't been all that, just glued to the TV. So I'm really looking forward to what's coming up this week. So what I've seen so far, again, Ledecky and Simone, that gets your attention pretty quickly, and you want to see, if they can maintain their dominance, which they have obviously proven that they have to this point. So I don't know. I've had some weird moments too. It's like, do I feel very Olympian when I'm watching 3-on-3 basketball? Not really.
Just not when you're watching Jimmer Fredette.
Right. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't, I don't know. But again, I'm old, so my view of the Olympics is probably skewed where it's, strictly Roman era style.
I just love watching the stuff that you don't get to see every day. Like, I caught myself really, really intrigued in women's fencing the other day. It's not something I've watched before, but I was like, oh, it's the gold medal match. It's women's fencing. I don't know how the scoring works per se, but then they explain it to you, and it all works. I think that the broadcast teams also do a really good job of explaining the rules of a lot of these things to you. Because, like, diving, you don't see every day. Fencing, rugby, we don't see every day. A lot of these things you just don't very often see. So they do a pretty good job of every half hour, 45 minutes, top or bottom of each hour, kind of explaining what the rules are, what they need to get to win, all that stuff as well. So, but as far as favorite events, I love watching the swimming. Swimming is probably my favorite. Track and field's next. And basketball's up there just because I love basketball. Yeah. But those are probably the most
the
important.
Synchronized diving thing's kind of cool to watch too, to think that you could get two humans doing all that stuff together in unison that succinctly is, that catches my eye.
I don't think I'd ever watched Pommel Horse before Mr. Pommel Horse himself on the U.S. Olympic team came out and did what he did and won bronze for the U.S. men's gymnastics team. Did you saw that? The guy named Steve? I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
No, but I was telling you earlier, we got exposed to that in elementary school. All of that gymnastics equipment stuff, the uneven bars, the pommel horse. We had to, when I was a kid, you had to pass tests in order to get your PE grade. So
I cannot
not that I was any good at it. I'm just saying that but exposed to it. So yeah, I have an appreciation for all of that kind of stuff because
Yeah.
I remember how hard it was in school. But they used to make us. We used to have to climb ropes to the top of the gym ceiling. You think they allowed you to do that now?
No.
Okay.
I never had to do that.
Yeah.
I cannot express to anybody the swiftness, the quickness of which I would fall off of the balance beam. Like I don't even know if I could stand up on the balance beam. I'm 6'6" and 275 pounds. I would fall and the world would shake underneath me if that happened. So
How about the rings, Matt?
huh?
How about the rings?
No, the ring. Oh, my shoulder would
Yeah.
shred. My shoulder's messed up anyway. I would die on the rings.
That's painful watching.
No,
yes.
absolutely not. I think if you could pick an Olympic sport that you think you could maybe do, not saying that we could compete with the Olympics. I would just like everyone to put that out there.
100 meters.
100 meter. You think
Pick
you
him
could
up
run?
and put it down for 100 meters. I take me a better part of a week to get there, but I could do it.
All right.
Something like the javelin.
I think
something that you had to throw. I think I could
do it.
probably do, but
I could do golf, but I mean, not very well.
Yeah, that too, I guess. I keep forgetting golf. That's right. Else I saw was our very own Abe Answer was at least in the top, I think, 25.
Our very own, meaning San Antonio.
Yes.
Obviously, he's competing for a different country.
From Mexico, yes. Well, I mean, he's one of us.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. I think if I was to compete in the Olympics, I would do like rugby or something like that. Like I think that would be like the only thing I might be able to actually be okay at. Just go tackle that guy, run away from somebody. I can try and do that.
How about curling? Anybody can get off the bar stool and go.
Yeah,
get
that's
a
Winter
curl?
Olympics.
That's true.
That's Winter Olympics.
Yes.
If they had like darts, I could be really good at darts. I'm not very good
Tiddlywinks,
at darts.
pick up sticks. It's coming.
All right, let's get to some actual stuff here. Let's get to the Cowboys. Actually, let's do trivia answer real quick. Luis, sorry to switch you up real quick. So the trivia answer we'll get to right now. The question was, which NFL receiver holds the record for the most touchdowns in a single season and holds another record for the most touchdowns in his rookie season? Chuck,
Well,
who are the two names you were thinking of?
Jerry Rice and Randy Moss.
Okay.
I couldn't remember, though, because I had Randy Moss very early on in his career on my fantasy team. And one year he went off ridiculously. And I just remember, like, I had no equal. I had Randall Cunningham and Randy Moss, and those guys just lit up the entire league. And
did they do fantasy
I could
football
not
back
be
then?
stopped. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
How long's fantasy football been around? I thought it was like of 2000.
I first did fantasy baseball in 1988. That's how I passed my time in my first job in Laredo. Shout out to Richard Heatwave Burler, my buddy down there, still doing weather.
In Laredo?
Yeah,
Good for him.
He's still on the air, man. Good guy. And he came up with, he knew how to do fantasy baseball. We did the stats once a week with pencils and erasers. And it was like, we were trying to figure out, you'd get the sporting news from the week that had all the box scores and everything in it. It was a lot of work back then, but it was a lot of fun.
It wasn't digitally done for you.
Kept you out of the bars.
Like that would keep me in the bars. All right, give me your answer between Jerry and Randy.
I'll go Randy.
Randy, all right. You got an answer? Want to participate?
I'd go with Jerry. If I had to nail it down, I like that answer.
Is it one of the two?
It is one of the two.
Okay, cool.
One of you is correct.
Yeah.
It is Randy Moss.
Yep.
Oh, sweet.
The most touchdowns in a single season is 23 with the 2007 Patriots. And the most touchdowns by a rookie is 1999, his rookie season, 17 touchdowns that year with the Minnesota Vikings. So Randy Moss is he what, top 5 receiver of all time? Just based on pure talent. Like, he never won a Super Bowl, so I don't know if you can start comparing him with others, but like, he
came awfully close to that Patriots team that was undefeated.
Like Terrell Owens has never won a Super Bowl, but he was the best player on the field in that that Patriots and Eagles Super Bowl he played in on a broken ankle.
Yeah,
like
he was the best player on a lot of football fields.
Yeah, exactly.
And same for Moss. That's hard, I always have a tough time with comparisons because I just don't feel like I'm very good at it. Because if you take the numbers and you do all that kind of stuff and you squish them all together and you plop out whoever comes out on top,
plop them out.
it's the age-old running back argument. Who's the best? Well, I can't say that Jim Brown was better than Barry Sanders, but I know with my own two eyes, after seeing, Emmett or Barry Sanders or Walter Payton and that crew with my own two eyes, I mean, Barry Sanders is the best football running back I've ever seen at any level. And even to this day, I don't know that I've seen Twitch like that.
The nearest comparison to Barry, and now we're getting totally off topic, but I like these topics. So, the closest to Barry that I've seen was like LaDainian Tomlinson. LaDainian, he could juke you out of a phone booth, like he was that twitchy.
Right.
And so him, AP, kind of similar running styles. Adrian Peterson's probably the best running back of my generation, but because Derrick Henry's just a whole nother animal in and of himself. So, let's get to the Cowboys. So, latest on Cowboys camp, no more injuries since Sam Williams which is good. Knock on wood. Speaking of injuries, though, Trayvon Diggs coming back from injury, which is good. He's 10 months removed now from his ACL tear. He spoke to the media yesterday, and he was just kind of talking about, like, it's so weird to like not be on the football field, but also he really missed the camaraderie. He really missed being part of the team, and I feel like that can really weigh on people's psyches, especially at the NFL ranks, when you're seeing your team go on to this great success when they went 12-5 last year, and they did it without you. And I feel like that can really wear on him. So he was talking a lot about how great it feels to be back and just be back in the room, be back with the guys and all that stuff.
Duron forming into his own and you guys being able to be a duo. How excited are you to get on the field with him?
Super excited to get on the field with him. I've been seeing him ever since he came here. Been doing it since, he first stepped foot on the Cowboys. So, I'm just super happy to be here. Super happy to be able to play with him and, we get some balls together.
Magnificent flow as well from Trayvon.
100%, right? I was thinking the same thing.
So that soundbite, you can hear him talking about the duo of him and Deron Bland. And each of them have had magnificent seasons apart from each other, but now they're going to try and have magnificent seasons together. Deron Bland, I believe, was just rated in the top 30 in the NFL 100. So, and Trayvon Diggs at his best was also rated in the top 30 before he was injured. So what do you think that duo between them, seeing as that barring health, they are healthy, they're on the football field together in the secondary. What do you think that equals?
Well, it's really fascinating, right? Do we get all-pro superstar, the next great thing, Deron Bland, if Diggs doesn't go down, right?
Yeah, it's fair to ask.
So the good news is now that they're both here, Deron Bland has arrived. We got to assume that Diggs is going to pick up right where he left off. So there was a blessing sort of in the injury in that the Cowboys actually got better this year in terms of their starting cornerback duos. So, sometimes these injuries create opportunities for other guys, and it's cool when it really happens like this. I think that's why obviously Stephon Gilmore isn't here this year, right? Also coupled with that Jordan Lewis, who's also a pretty darn good football player in his own right, was coming back from a horrific foot injury. And now, he's going to be your number 3 guy. So, that room is a little bit stronger this year than it was last year. And I think the cool thing is, too, that if something were to happen, maybe even on the back end of this DB room in terms of injuries, they could always go back and get Gilmore again, and he's still pretty damn good. I think he's just waiting for, the right opportunity to sign with somebody like a Cowboys that needs somebody to come in a pinch.
I think it's a little scarring now, no pun intended, when you're talking about injuries, season-long injuries, ACLs, feet, anything like that, because you saw what happened to Michael Gallup. You see, Michael Gallup was on a trajectory heading straight up, and then he got injured.
Well said.
And he never came back from it. He was never that guy again. And so as a Cowboy fan, or if I was a Cowboy fan, I would be a little concerned just because I've seen it before. I've seen guys like Adrian Peterson come back in 8 months from an ACL tear and be better than ever. But I've also seen guys like Michael Gallup who can just never get that step again. And Trayvon Diggs just got a 5-year, $96 million contract, whatever it was, and then he got hurt. So are the Cowboys now stuck with that, or is that going to end up looking like a bargain because he comes back and better than ever? That's just one of those things that I can't get out of the back of my mind.
Well, I just speaking on what happened with 13. Thankfully, he got paid.
Yeah,
And
100%.
you can hate on the Cowboys and hate where they're at in their cap situation because they probably should have never made that deal. And there's no way I would ever argue with you, right? I mean, coming off of that injury, there's no way the Cowboys should have given him that kind of money, something that they're still paying for. However, the human in me is grateful that somebody with that kind of talent and was that kind of player, and to your point, the trajectory was going nowhere but straight up, and then could never come back from it, at least got that bag.
That's true.
Before his career ended.
It's true. And there's two aspects of it, right? There's rooting for the person, and then there's rooting for the team.
Right.
Obviously, the team was hurt by that contract. The team was hurt by the Zeke contract. You're hoping now as a Cowboy fan that they're not hurt by this Trayvon Diggs contract as well. You're not hoping that they gave him the bag and then he's just never that guy again. Because he was, before the injury, I said on this podcast, before the injury and before he got paid, that he would have been the last one to get paid if it was me. Because he's very much a risk reward kind of guy. It's like you're going to surrender a few touchdowns over the top, but he might get 11 picks. Like, you don't know, because he goes out and he risks it. So I don't know. It's very, very iffy for me.
But the ball hawking is so elite, and turnovers and creating turnovers on NFL defenses. Again, if you're squishing all the numbers together, the supercomputers are going to say, this is the guy that you have to pay because he's clearly a difference maker, even if he doesn't do this, 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 and this. And nobody's perfect, obviously. Maybe he's not the most physical or whatever it is that somebody's saying that he's not. The fact that a guy can hawk the ball like that, it's the same thing with Bland. Now you got two of those guys. I mean,
it's true, but
every team would be lucky to have one of those guys or a half of one of those guys.
It's true. Just don't be surprised when there is a touchdown or two surrendered over the top because they go for a ball they miss, and then it's open running for a receiver on the outside.
Well, we'll have those arguments too, as the Cowboys traverse their way through the summer, when they start paying this player or this player or this player, and then still continue to see how bad a shape that their salary cap is for a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. It's the age-old argument, and luckily, no matter which way they go, we'll be able to argue for or against.
Speaking of guys who are making money on this roster and age, Tank Lawrence talked yesterday. DeMarcus Lawrence been on this team for a solid 10 years now. He's been one of the leaders on this team for a long time. I believe he's going into his contract year. Excuse me. He's going into a contract year now, and he, especially with Sam Williams going down, has a lot on his shoulders. One, in the leadership department, but two, in the production department. I didn't realize until just looking this up before we came in here and I was putting the rundown together that Tank hasn't had a double-digit sack season since 2018. I didn't realize he was a 31-year-old D-end who has been not unproductive, but less than $21 million of production. And while defensive line is kind of hard to look at stats all the time and see the value of that player, because a lot of his intangibles and maybe taking double teams away from Micah or whatever the case may be, I think they're going to need to see a lot more production out of him, especially since Sam Williams is down with injury and Marshawn Nealand is a rookie.
Yeah, I think over the last couple years, he's been the guy, that has his hand on the ground that the other teams clearly have to make sure that they don't let get loose. I was thinking about him yesterday. In fact, I wrote a little story on him. He's the guy you take for granted, though, dude. He's going to do the dirty work. He's played hurt. He's always available on Sunday, even if he doesn't practice during the week. He's clearly the leader in that locker room. There's no on the defensive side of the ball. And I thought it was fascinating what McCarthy said about him yesterday.
What did he say?
He said when he was with Green Bay, the way they approached game planning Dallas was, first and foremost, he said, DeMarcus Lawrence is a bowling ball with butcher knives. And I was like, God, that's good. Like, I never heard anybody describe another human being that way.
A bowling ball with butcher knives.
Yeah, it was really, really tastefully done, I thought, by McCarthy. That was just this guy's a dog. And, you can't have the team, but I think to your point, it is hard to remember that he's got this many years in the league. And
I
he's
didn't know that.
Pro
Like, I didn't
Bowls
think
and
about it.
everything else. And right, he's the guy we have tended to take for granted because, again, last year it was Bland that was flashing. Then it was Diggs. Of
And
course,
Micah.
Micah is always getting the attention, and where's the bullseye there? So on a defense full of guys that have done a really good job in the flash department, he tends to be overlooked. But you're right. I think there will be a lot on his shoulders, and it's a contract year, so it's another prove it year. So you're probably going to get even more out of DeMarcus if he stays healthy than you might have if there wasn't a contract. Although I think he's one of those guys. I'm going to walk that back. He's one of those guys. You could pay him a nickel, or you could pay him a gazillion nickels, and you'd still get the same all-out baller and heady. He's everything you want in a football player.
His situation, contract-wise, reminds me of another DeMarcus Ware. As much as DeMarcus will always be, and Ware that is, will always be a Cowboy. At the end of the tenure, it was like, we can't pay you this time.
Right.
And that's kind of what it seems like here. Like, no matter what DeMarcus Lawrence does this season, the way that their contract situations are shaping up, they're not going to be able to pay him after this season, whether it's 10, 15, 20 million dollars, whatever it is. His last bag, he's not going to be able to get from the Cowboys. So as someone who's watched the Cowboys for a long time, and all the Cowboys fans out there should look at this with like rose-colored glasses on, because this might be the last 17 games you see DeMarcus Lawrence in the Cowboys uniform. And last thing about Cowboys camp is Tyler Guyton has looked really good. He's been running with the ones. Chime Udoga also subbing in at left tackle with the ones as well. But you saw a couple of clips circling on social media. We've seen the footage from Cowboys camp, him taking on Micah on that left side, him taking on Tank on that left side. He's looked really, really good, and he's earned some rave reviews from Mac and a lot of the beat writers out there as well.
Yeah, and I mean, when we were talking to Tyler Smith during OTAs, he said he felt like Guyton was further along to that point in his Cowboy career, talking about minicamp and OTAs, than even Tyler Smith was, and we know how damn good a football player Tyler Smith is. So, yeah, it's early in camp, right? But the cool thing is that if you're a guy like Guyton and you're seeing NFL stuff for the first time, it's pretty cool. You have a couple of wins against a guy like Micah Parsons. That's got to build some early confidence, I would
100%.
think, right?
Let me go back to my first page here where I'm listing Simone Biles' gold medals. Let me put down 6 because she just won another gold medal while we were sitting here.
Oh, wait, we did the spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Oh,
If you're watching me right now, you're not watching Simone, which means you probably don't care about Simone that much. So I'm just saying.
Or you forgot it was on.
Or you forgot it was on.
But you can watch it again tonight in prime time.
Yeah, News 4. Tyler Guyton has been very impressive, and congratulations to Simone. Suni Lee takes bronze, so 2 Americans in the top 3.
Yeah, all right,
all-around.
even better. I like that. We had a discussion this morning. Would you rather see more golds on the medal count list for your nation, or would you rather see total number of medals?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I had to mull it over too.
My initial thought is more medals. However, then I think of how many athletes the U.S. has, and of course they're going to get more medals because they have more chances. So I would think more golds, because that means you're better. You're the best at more things.
That's fair.
That's what I would say.
I like looking at it from the standpoint, when I see all those countries up there, I like mine at the top.
I mean, yeah, if you want to see the standings, of course you want to see it at the top.
We got more, so y'all, hasta bye-bye.
All right, let's talk very quickly about that's a good question. I didn't even think of that. About the Hall of Fame game. Football is back, kind of. The Hall of Fame game is tonight. No one's playing. No names that you really, really know are playing. C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, none of those guys are playing. There are still some things that I think you can look out for tonight, though. One, the rookies, Kamari Lassiter, the John Mechie's, who's coming back from cancer. How are those guys playing? How are they kind of acclimating to this? You can also look at position battles. There's a position battle at corner, a position battle at center for the Texans. Which one of those guys is playing better? And I think another thing you're going to have to look at tonight is the new kickoff rule. This is the first look we're going to have at what this kickoff rule is going to look like. It's very convoluted. I'm not even going to try and explain it right now. They'll do a great job on ESPN and ABC tonight explaining it. But I'm going to be interested to see what it looks like. How are they going to have more returns? Is there going to be more returns? How are kickoff specialists going to be angling these balls? Is there going to be 2 returners? Is there going to be 1 returner? Like, I'm just very interested to see what it looks like.
I am too, because I mean, everybody's spitballing this thing like we have. And I guess there are some that believe that at least we're going to have kickoff returns maybe 50 to 60% of the time now. So
Yep.
I'm all for that. I mean, this kicking off for the sake of kicking off, or it goes out of the back of the end zone every time. It just doesn't make any sense in for many, many reasons. I think the NFL recognized it, and they made some changes, and I think it'll be for the better. I think this will give, special teams coordinators a chance to be crafty and creative and see how, they can manipulate the chessboard in their favor. I think you're going to see some creativity. And my hope is that this doesn't just start gutting NFL rosters too, because you're going to see some collisions now.
You're going to see some collisions, but it's also another way to think about the kickoff. Are you going to put like bigger guys on there? You're going to put like more offensive linemen on there. It's not like they have to run as far. All they have to do is kind of block and create the holes. So are you going to see more offensive, defensive linemen on those spots? Are you still going to see the corners, the sub package linebackers, all that stuff, the DeMarvion Overshones of the world? Are you going to see those guys on the kickoff team, or are you going to see bigger guys? Are you going to see quicker guys? Or are you going to see bigger guys? It's very, very interesting the way that all that shapes up. But I do think it's fitting that Devin Hester, now going into the Hall of Fame, excuse you.
Yes, sorry.
Kind
Kind of came out like a cannon, didn't it? Not intentional, sorry.
Both of us getting over a little bug. So Devin Hester going into the Hall of Fame tonight. I think it's fitting that the new kickoff rule is with his team. Devin Hester, obviously one of the best returners.
Yeah, best I've ever
probably
seen.
The best returner. Let's just be honest. The best kickoff and punt returner of all time.
Every Packer fan knows every time you kicked it to that guy, you either looked away, went to the bathroom, and started saying, a Hail Mary or Preston Beads, whatever you were going to do, because that dude, golly, he was something.
I remember exactly where I was when he ran back the opening kickoff in the Super Bowl against the Colts. I mean, it was one of the most amazing plays I've ever seen. It's like everyone's still sitting down trying to get their wings and beer, and sure enough, there's a touchdown on the board already. Yeah. You're just like, what the hell just happened?
Devin Hester's done it again.
So yeah, that'll be really.
Where have I seen this before?
Exactly, that'll be really interesting to see tonight. Last thing on the way out, congratulations to all the Hall of Famers going in.
Yeah,
Andre Johnson for the Texans, the receiver. Devin Hester, one of the best returners of all time. Julius Peppers, Patrick Willis, Steve McMichael, Dwight Freeney, and the Broncos' very own Randy Gradishar, which took way too long to get in. He played from 79 to 83 in the Orange Crush defense, and it took him until this year to get into the Hall of Fame.
Some great names on that list, and Patrick Willis, that dude's arms.
Well, I mean, that year, that stretch there where they had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis back to back, it was just like,
right?
What the frick?
Exactly. And then Andre Johnson, man, first Texan ever going in.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about that? That's awesome.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite things to do on Saturday. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch all the Hall of Fame speeches, and I'm going to have a box of tissues next to me.
Okay, I'm not going to do that, but
I'm going to. I love watching
unless it's Michael Irvin's speech again. That was one of those, like, wow, if everybody's was this good, and it's only happened once. So Michael Irvin's was.
As long as there's not a Ray Lewis kind of speech who basically took everyone to church for 35 minutes and literally had.
I might actually need some of that.
Well, I mean, and there's nothing against church, but it's like he literally sat up there with a mic on it. Instead of sitting at the podium, he went up there and just preached to everyone for 35 minutes. And I was like, all right, let's 10 minutes, guys. Come on. Like, we need a little bit of a time limit on these things. All right, that's all we got for you today on the Senior Cleats podcast. Remember to download, rate, review, subscribe, 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We will be back on Monday. You won't be back on Monday. But
no, I won't.
Vacation for Chuck time.
Yes.
Doing anything fun?
Yes. I'll be actually, I'm going to go to family night in Lambeau Field on Saturday.
Ooh.
And then I'm sort of in that nebulous state of not knowing what to do with the rest of my time. Do I go to St. Louis and watch the Mets and Cardinals? Do I hang out more with family?
Are you driving?
Yes, I am. and then on Tuesday, do I go see the Royals? I actually would rather go see the Royals play.
In Kaufman?
Yes, but the Mets and the Cardinals are doing a rain game on Monday, and I don't know.
You can do both.
Yes, I've got time to think about it. Obviously, I'm just spitballing here on the podcast.
It's only a
Everybody's
three. It's only a
I
three.
thought y'all were going to wrap this up.
It's only a 3.5-hour drive between St. Louis and Kansas City.
Yes, I get season tickets every year from both teams, thinking that they think I come to the ballpark at least once a year, and it's pretty often the case. If I'm in the Midwest, I'll go check out a ball game.
I love
both
Kaufman.
great places to go watch ball games.
Absolutely. Bush and Kaufman are two of my favorites. So anyway, that's all we got for you. We'll see you back here on Monday.